Do you like horror movies? Do you have nightmares? Imagine living in the 1780s and one day while you were entering a gallery you saw this painting. Yes, it is still scary. Even if you've watched horror movies for years, this picture is enough to make you think about what is sleeping under your bed or hiding behind the curtain. We know this is not real and is a figment of our imagination, but we still want to leave the lights on all night. But what exactly did Henry Fuseli want the viewer to see? Showing the picture in 1782 and freezing the blood of the public back then. We see a figure of a sleeping young woman in white, with her head laid down, on her chest. And a sinister incubus is sitting heavily facing the audience. Near the demon is the head of a black horse with glowing eyes. Painted in early 1781, the picture has become one of the iconic images used to illustrate the experiences of people suffering from sleep disorders.
Wake up. You'll never wake up.
I had zero control over my body. Like, no matter how hard I tried, I couldn't move my arms, my legs.
I would try and fight it. It was just so strong.
And then you'll wake up and you're totally paralyzed, you can't move.
I began hearing voices and screams and crying. I would hear all the sounds of hell.
It's been a long time since 1781 and we can now find a lot of information about sleep paralysis and explanations for nightmares, but in 1781 most people still believed that if they experienced something like this, the reason was probably demon possession or other dark forces. Admit it, if you wake up at night and can't move your body, and this monster is sitting on your chest, you will hardly think at first that it's just a nightmare. You will probably scream in your mind for a very long time. The image of the incubus is popular in many cultures and has different names. In Egypt, Italy, Nigeria, and the Balkans. But in addition to popular myths, the late 1780s were a time of development of various theories related to the psychology of the conscious and unconscious, so Fuseli probably wanted to show not the image of a real monster, but rather the ability of consciousness to materialize our fears and desires in the form of dreams when we stop controlling our minds. A similar concept can be seen in another popular work, The Sleep of Reason Produces Monsters, an aqua tint by Spanish painter and printmaker Francisco Goya made in 1799, almost 20 years after The Nightmare and devoid of the erotic element. The painting brought large popularity to Fuseli, so he produced at least 3 other versions of it. Fuseli painted other versions of The Nightmare following the success of the first, at least 3 survive. The other important canvas was painted between 1790 and 1791 and is held at the Goethe Museum in Frankfurt. It is smaller than the original, and the woman's head lies to the left, a mirror opposes her on the right. The demon is looking at the woman rather than out of the picture, and it has pointed, cat-like ears. The most significant difference in the remaining 2 versions is an erotic statuette of a couple on the table. Sigmund Freud and Carl Jung had 2 different copies of it. Later, interpretations by other authors appeared, such as this one from Burke, and this one from Nikolai Abildgaard. This sculpture called Le Cauchemar by Eugène Thivier has strikingly lot similarities with The Nightmare. And we can see this much later version from Balthus. The Nightmare likely influenced Mary Shelley in a scene from her famous Gothic novel Frankenstein. And she was there, lifeless and inanimate, thrown across the bed, her head hanging down, and her pale and distorted features half covered by hair. And also Edgar Allan Poe may have evoked the nightmare in his short story The Fall of the House of Usher, 1839. In addition to the image of the incubus, the other sinister image is the large horse's head appearing behind the curtain. As a universal symbol of freedom without restraint and desire, we can relate it to the lost control over the mind. Although the rest of the horse behind the curtain is not visible here, this image leaves a distant echo in other masterpieces to this day. After all, we all already know what a severed horse's head in bed means and how seriously it should be taken. Although this is clearly one of the ways to caught eels, the horse head scene is just as mind-blowing. Let's pay attention to the sleeping woman, who according to some interpretations is a woman named Anna Landhold. The painter wanted to marry her, but it didn't happen because of her family. Fuseli wrote of his fantasies: "Last night I had her in bed with me, tossed my bedclothes hugger-mugger, wound my hot and tight-clasped hands about her, fused her body and soul together with my own, poured into her my spirit, breath and strength. Anyone who touches her now commits adultery and incest. She is mine, and I am hers. And have her I will." On the back of the nightmare is hidden an unfinished portrait, probably of the same lady, the object of his desires. A bolder interpretation of the picture is made by Marcia Allentuck, suggesting that the painting's intent is to show female orgasm and probably the incubus is Fuseli himself. The female figure in white is placed on a dark red drapery, reminiscent of a theatrical curtain, symbolically separating reality from dream and unreal. David Lynch used a similar approach in Twin Peaks. The motifs from the nightmare are so impressive that the painting becomes an inspiration for iconic movie scenes. Starting with the first silent black and white films in which the image of the monster is a pure embodiment of evil. Frankenstein from 1910, written and directed by J. Searle Dawley. And Frankenstein from 1931 by James Whale.
Elizabeth!
Vampire from 1932. While the first examples may be seen as more direct, directors of recent generations are accumulating more layers and possible interpretations concerning the subject of female sexuality, like in Gothic by Ken Russell. And references to maternal instinct or the lack of it. Ju-on, The Grudge, 2002, Takashi Shimizu. Until we come to philosophical questions such as, Are monsters born in our heads, and in fact we are the ones who develop and make them stronger, which the TV series Evil sets? Following the relationship between psychologist Kristen Bouchard and her private incubus George, who even won the sympathy of viewers? We should also mention Horsehead from 2014 by Roman Bassett, where in addition to the interpretations of the female nature, the scenes are mind-bogglingly detailed. Like in most horrors, we see the whole image of the horse demon later in the movie, but all the close-ups feed our imagination following the story, unclear if that is a dream or reality. Alongside the red curtain and the bottles with unknown content from Fuseli's nightmare, we can also see a massive deranged mixture of symbols, connected with the theory of the subconscious. The most interesting reference in our list is the scene from Alien Covenant from 2017, in which David first meets Neomorph after the creature killed a female member of the crew. This moment from Ridley Scott's underestimated masterpiece shows us the essence of the monster, and that its ugly monstrosity can be seen only through the prism of the human consciousness. Can you think of other examples in popular culture of images inspired by the nightmare? If you like digging in art and cinema, like us, and you have found more clues, share them with us in the comment section. And if you like our channel, hit the like button and then the bell, so you never miss a video from us.